had our fourth Exploring the Practice of Prayer class yesterday, and it continues to be such a neat exploration into affirmative prayer from my end and relational prayer from Sherry Morgan. The conversations that are coming, the curiosities, the questions, the connections that are being made, it's just, for me, class is where the magic happens. In conversation is where stuff gets integrated and processed and metabolized, and it is just so cool to see what happens throughout the class and how people are walking out, from the last class compared to when they walked in during the first one, even if it's just a 5-week thing, which is what we're doing now. And so one of the things that I did in preparation for yesterday's class that completely shifted the focus of my class 15 minutes before we were walking out the door to come here yesterday is I watched, there was a video, and I think I referred to this at least once, if not at a Celebrate and an Elevate a few months back. There was an Instagram or a Facebook post by Zach Bush being interviewed by someone, and he was talking about authenticity and the frequency of authenticity. And it was such a cool video. The Way Forward with Alex Zek podcast, and the particular episode that the snippet came from was called Coming Home, Healing the Chronic Disease of Separation with Dr. Zach Bush. And it was so cool because Zach Bush is not only a doctor, but he's also a farmer. And he also is very open spiritually. He's into the Kabbalah, and he has a whole bunch of other things that he's really interested in. But what he really talked about in many, many different ways is the interconnectivity of everyone and everything. And that there is no separation, there is no duality, that we are all part and parcel of each other, of this energy that is the essence of everyone and everything, and of nature. And so nature isn't separate from us. It's not something that we get to sort of be like, wow, isn't that flower beautiful? Isn't that mountain awesome? Like Emerson said in his essay, Nature, we are nature, and nature is us. And so we don't need to be in awe of something that we are, because we're seeing something and recognizing something that already exists within us. So there were a few quotes that came out of this interview with Alex Zek that I wanted to share. And the first one is, when you start projecting gratitude and love, you actually change the frequency of the plants. Thank you. The frequency of the plants, of growth factors, the way roots are expressing themselves. The human is playing a role in the ecosystem. And to me, what this means is everything's connected. And so it's just totally in keeping with our theme for the month. And so back to our prayer class yesterday morning, one of the themes that we're talking about is connection. Connection in terms of what are we connecting with, which I don't even like to use the word with because it sounds like there's something separate. So I feel like, what are we tuning into more fully or more intentionally? How are we becoming more aligned as love, as source, as God? And then there is with others, how are we recognizing the love in Mary, in Trisha, in this community that is evolving? How are we championing that love in others? And then how are we championing and amplifying the love in the world, the connection that we share with every single creature and critter and every single aspect of this planet and beyond? How are we nurturing and fostering those connections? And so some of the ways that we keep talking about it is through gratitude and love and joy. Gratitude or appreciation. We've discerned the differences between gratitude and appreciation. And really what it comes down to is it's just, what are you feeling? And what state of being are you embodying? And so for some people it's gratitude, for some it's appreciation. But ultimately it's not something that you need to be. You don't have to be for something. So there doesn't have to be something you need to be grateful for. It's just, I am appreciating the sunshine. And the way that I'm appreciating is I feel joyful. I feel expanded. I feel connected. I feel anchored in the knowing that that sunshine is bringing warmth. It is bringing light. It is connecting me with the outside. It is making me feel good. That's what I'm appreciating. So Gratitude, appreciation, love, and joy raise frequency. And like what Zach Bush just said in his thing, the more that we practice love and gratitude, the more we amplify and affect everyone and everything around us, that love and joy and appreciation that already exists in everyone. And so my question, which came up because of something that happens later in the interview, is what if our insistent focus on gratitude, love, and joy meant we were missing out on a crucial aspect of connection, of experiencing our true nature, our inherent wholeness? Because so often, I would say like 99% of the time, in New Thought and in other philosophies and in other ways of thinking, the ideal is to feel peaceful and joyful and happy and connected and in love, aligned all the time. And if we don't, then we're not. If we don't, then we're not connected. If we don't, then we're not aligned. Then maybe there's something wrong with us or we're doing it wrong or whatever. And my question, my curiosity, and my perspective is, if there's only one thing going on, then all of it is all of it. And that means the sweet, the sour, and everything in between. So whether we feel happy and glad and joyful and are grateful for things and are moving along through life feeling like we're in the flow, or we are feeling angry or sad or fearful or hopeless or whatever else isn't, from the happy category, the positive category, that all of that is God expressing. All of that is love expressing. Because if spirit, God, love, whatever you want to call it, is fulfilling itself in, through, around, and as us, if this energy, if this creativity is unleashing itself in all of these incredible ways, then it's unleashing itself and experiencing itself in the myriad of emotions and feelings and experiences that we as humans, with our minds, with this level of consciousness and these bodies, can have. And so what I am curious about and what I want to invite people into is it okay to be angry? Is it okay to be sad? Is it okay to feel grief? Is it okay to feel like, I don't know how, I'm not worthy, and still know that you're God, and still know that you're love, and still know that you are experiencing wholeness in some form? And I'm not here to say yes or no, or this is the answer, because I'm really inviting all of us to open up to, what does that mean? What's that stirring up for me? And some of you may totally disagree with me. And some of you may be like, oh my God, finally, someone is saying what I've been thinking for so long, and then something in between. Because infinite possibilities, right? So yesterday's topic ended up being authenticity. And all of this stuff ended up coming up because this snippet that came into my purview probably about 6 months ago at this point, and then I saw it again when I was in Nashville at the live event at the beginning of February, was about authenticity. And so when Zach Bush was talking about it, then what he talked about was, he said that there was this experiment that was done, I don't know where the hypothesis was that gratitude and love and joy were the highest frequencies, that they emitted the most energy when people experienced them. And so what they did, the researchers did, was they built a Faraday cage, and then people would go into this Faraday cage so that it was a pure electromagnetic field. That's as sciencey as I'm going to get with this. And then they were encouraged to tell stories of happiness and connection and love and joy and gratitude, and the energy that was emitted from them was measured. And then they were invited to tell stories of hopelessness and anger and fear and sorrow and that kind of stuff, and their energy was measured. And there was this inconsistent thing that happened, that every now and then, 40 times more energy would burst out of the person, even if it wasn't love or gratitude or joy. But it wasn't always a specific emotion. It wasn't always, as the person was in a specific state, and it just was inconsistent. And so after this happened numerous times, one of the researchers said, maybe we should shift our focus. And maybe what we should do is we should measure authenticity. And so what they did was they shifted whatever they had to shift, and then they started measuring authenticity. And sure enough, what they realized, what they discovered, was that it could have been love and gratitude and joy, or it could have been fear and hopelessness and anger and sadness and any of that stuff, which is not in alignment with all this other good stuff, that would emit 40 times the energy. And the other cool thing that happened was that as this extra energy was being emitted, the researchers and observers were getting goosebumps. So there was this energetic connection that they felt. And then when the people were telling stories of love and gratitude and joy, and they were in their authenticity, then that love and gratitude and joy was measured 40 times higher than the other love, gratitude, and joy, which was already pretty high. This is so interesting and fascinating to me because for my 7 years in consciousness studies, it was like there was this ideal, this bar of this is the way you got to show up in the world. This is the way you got to feel. And if you're not, then there's something wrong with you or you're not doing it right. And so as someone who went into ministry, that was my thing. I was called to ministry, so I took all these courses and followed this path so that I could become a minister. And the thing that happened for me, and I have talked about this before, is that in those last 3 months of ministerial studies, as I was almost crossing the finish line, I was bawling my eyes out. I was sad. I was frustrated. I was angry. I was sorrowful. All of this stuff was coming up, and I'm like, what is going on? But I felt like I don't want to cross the finish line with any of this stuff. I got to get rid of it. And then I ended up stepping up into this role as spiritual director, and what I can offer is, and these have been some of the scariest times for me, is the times where people have come up to me and said they felt most connected was not when I was espousing words of wisdom and insights, specifically from a love and joy and gratitude kind of place or vibe, but when I was standing here crying on the stage, or when I was sharing something so personal and so vulnerable that it took me many months or a year and a half or whatever to get the courage to say it, because that's not the kind of training I had. The kind of training I had was very different. It was like, you are at the front of the room, you are on the stage to inspire people, and this is the way you do it. And yet, I see people arriving tired. I see people arriving feeling broken. I am in connection and community with people constantly who are like, I just want to have permission to feel the way I feel and not have to try and shift to something else. And so the other thing that came up, and I think I did talk about this last week, was that last week the topic was about safety. And that safety, signaling safety to the body, can be such an important bridge from this is how I'm feeling and I'm not quite sure how to get from here to here. Because when we signal safety to the body through various nervous system resetting exercises, when we are allowing our body to recognize and realize that, oh, it is totally 100% safe to feel this way, that it's not a threat, that we have it in us to move through this, whatever it is that we are doing, that signals the body that it's okay to not only experience this, but to move through it, to surrender, so that ultimately you can open up to the experience of love, gratitude, and joy. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone, but there's a lot of people out there, and I have had the personal experience, especially after the collision, when I was not able to pray. I was not able to pray because I wasn't able to use this part of my brain because it was bruised and inflamed. And so I relied on other people who could pray for me, and the thing that I had to do was get into the body and remind my body that I was okay, that even though it felt horrible, even though I knew that there were lessons and insights that were come at some point, that this entire experience was a gift, I know that because of my studies. I know that because I know who I am, but I still needed to feel what I was feeling instead of bypassing it, sweeping it under the rug, and going, it's all good, it's all God, right? So, True connection lies in authenticity. Authenticity is rooted in safety and trust. And by signaling safety first, we create opportunity to more authentically embody the wholeness of being. And not just like our being. I mean, that's important because we're each having our unique individualized experiences as love, as God. but we're also in community. We're in community all the time. Even when we're on our own, we are in community with energy that is whirling and swirling around us, with nature when we're in nature. And even though someone might not be sitting right next to us, we are always in community with everyone and everything. And so it is so important for us to really tune into what is authentic and true for me right here, right now. Because if we ignore it and we think that I should really be feeling this way because that's the way that I've been told, then we are ignoring this incredible, amazing experience to grow, to experience resiliency, to really, really anchor ourselves in the knowing that no matter what is happening, no matter the circumstances that I might be caught up in, no matter all the stories that I tell, the thoughts, beliefs, everything that have gotten me to this now moment right here, right now, there is that in me that is bigger and more powerful and more creative and more resilient than all of that put together. And the way that we access that is through being authentic, through loving ourselves, through being kind and compassionate, through doing our nervous system resetting practices, and eventually then allowing ourselves to surrender to the experience and not labeling it good or bad, because it's not. We are the ones making the meaning. We're the ones giving the context. And if we allow ourselves the opportunity to really, truly recognize that there is gift and opportunity in everything, even the most challenging of experiences, even if we don't recognize it in the moment, to just trust that it'll be revealed when we're ready, that to me is a life well lived. That to me is experiencing wholeness in every now moment, the best that we can. So in the end, trying to feel gratitude, love, or joy when you're feeling anything but will likely cause resistance, confusion, and suffering, and the body will shut down due to perceived threat. Taking a moment to pause, give ourselves permission to be present for and curious about what we're thinking or feeling while signaling safety to the body gives our nervous system a chance to regulate, the body to relax, and allow for a genuine shift towards gratitude, love, and joy. And all of that is the authentic experiencing and expressing of wholeness. And so I just want to leave you with one more quote by Zach Bush. Your soul doesn't have emotions. Your soul is authentic. Thank you, and so it is.